part of a couple islands that sit out in the Bay of Fundy. And it's a fun place to go because you have to take a couple different ferries to get there. It's an excellent place to go whale watching, and that is something I always wanted to take my kids to do. Instead of going home to Dartmouth after our trip to Brier Island, we're going to take another ferry to St. John, New Brunswick, and travel on to see my mom in New Hampshire. One stop we made in Digby was at the Maude replica house, and it's just outside Digby on the way to our drive to Brier Island. And we just drove by and saw the sign, and it's a place I always wanted to stop and see. If you don't know who Maude is, she is a celebrated folk artist, folk painter from Nova Scotia. She's really well known for her little painted house, and this stop that we made is a replica of that house. Now, her actual house you can go see for yourself at the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia. My daughter loves Maude Lewis. She learned about her in school, and we look at her paintings all the time, so this was a fun place to stop with the kids. Now, I didn't know who Maude Lewis was until I moved to Nova Scotia, but I fell in love with her art. There's such joy in it, and that's something that I'm always working on, is to focus on the feelings that my art creates, and that is something that she truly accomplished. Our first stop on the trip was in Freeport, and we stayed here overnight in this cute little house that we rented on Airbnb. And the next day we woke up and took another ferry over to Brier Island. Now, I really loved this second ferry because while we were in the lineup, I noticed there was a little house that had coffee for sale, and I hopped out with my daughter to go see what the coffee situation was. Instead, we found something I never thought I would see, which was a dog that could sing to a harmonica. So the coffee wasn't ready yet, it was still brewing, but we had this amazing entertainment at the second ferry. I highly recommend. We were a little bit early for our whale watching, so we took a drive around the island. It's not very big, and we had lots of time to check out this little island just at the tip of Brier Island, and there's a lighthouse on it, and this insane current was going by, and we were watching the birds ride the current and then fly back and do it again, and there was just hundreds and hundreds of birds around, and it was a really cool place to stop and just observe all of these surfing birds. On our drive, we stopped at a cove and saw some seals, and there were 2 adult seals and a baby, and that was really cute. I really loved this lighthouse and all the wildflowers that were growing all around it, and I'm going to make a painting of this later. Now, I get seasick, so I wasn't really excited for this part of our trip, but for some reason I keep getting on boats with my family. They keep taking me along, and I always think that I love boats and think that I love being on the ocean, because I do love the ocean so much, and I spend so much time by the sea that I love the idea of it, but I am not a boat person and I get sick every time. So there's not a lot of video from this portion of the trip, but I will tell you, we saw so many whales. I have some pictures for you, which will not make you seasick. So, the coffee wasn't ready yet, it was still brewing, but we had this amazing entertainment at the second ferry. I really loved this second ferry. I highly recommend. We were a little bit early for our whale watching, so we took a drive around the island. It's not very big, and we had lots of time to check out this little island just at the tip of Brier Island, and there was a couple islands that sit out in the Bay of Fundy. And it's a fun place to stop and just observe all of these surfing birds. We didn't see any whales for I think the first 45 minutes of the trip, and even the cruise operators were preparing us for disappointment. But then out of nowhere, just 3 humpback whales started breaching, and they just were jumping and breaching and dancing for the whole rest of the trip. I feel like we watched them for another 45 minutes, just jumping out of the water on all sides of the boat. I couldn't even believe it. And the best part is my kids finally saw some whales, so maybe I don't have to get on a boat again. I really loved this trip to Brier Island. I did make some paintings while we were there together. I love to sketch when I'm on trips like this, especially in the summertime. This is the time of year I get all of my painting inspiration in. I'm trying to soak up all the nature that I can and have it last me through the winter. But we had to travel on to St. John to make it down to New Hampshire. And this third ferry that we took was much larger. It was more like a cruise ship, and the crossing was about 2 hours. And it had everything you could think of on board. It had a couple different cafes and a restaurant, and it had a gift shop, and there was people playing the fiddle, and there was a movie area, and the kids had so much fun. So my husband and I sat up in the sunshine on the top deck, and the kids just kind of wandered around and had this amazing time on this boat for a couple hours. Usually this drive takes us about 10 or 11 hours if we did it straight, so this was a really fun way to break it up, because once we got over to St. John, it was only a 5-hour drive to my mom's house. Hope you liked this video. If you could please like and subscribe, that would be a huge help to me in my artwork.